So the history of this bee yard is that these were nukes last August, 2 frames of brood in a queen cell, and they kind of grew up a little bit, and we're going to split them by leaving 3 frames of brood in the bottom box and shaking the bees off everything else and putting over an excluder in another box, which we have on the truck, and that's the assets that we're going to use to create nukes on Thursday. The reason we're doing this on Monday is because tomorrow we're tied up. Wednesday's going to rain, it's a washout. Thursday we have the queens arriving, and we want to make these nukes very, very fast, so that's why we're setting up all the assets above a queen excluder so we don't have to find queens on Thursday. And we got to get all of that done on Thursday because on Friday we're going to the University of Georgia and helping that crew split all their bees, and that's going to be interesting. Their bees are very strong. They're probably building swarm cells as we're speaking, I would guess.
Oh, yeah.
These aren't super large colonies, but they're large enough to where we expect to get some brood out of them. And we have a lot, I'd say probably 2/3 of our outfit is colonies just like this. We sell a lot of bees every fall, and every summer we start a lot of new colonies, and then we use them the next summer to make nukes and produce honey. And then the following fall, which would be this fall, they'll be up for sale. So these colonies are going to make a nuke, produce honey this summer, and then go up for sale in August or September. And that tends to be kind of our mode of operation here lately. Actually, we sold all of our very best colonies last year. It's interesting. So all we've got left really is these smaller colonies, and maybe 2 or 3 good yards like the tiger yard we looked at the other day. That was a good yard. These nukes will be ready in 3 weeks. We like to establish them and then put them up for sale in 3 weeks. Make sure the queen is doing a good job, well established, no problems. The queens we're going to be using are coming from Chris Werner, and we'll probably get the camera out again on Thursday when we're making the nukes and show how that goes too. I'm sure there'll be a few colonies that won't give us material to work with, but hopefully most of them will. So it's just a matter of getting the queen off the frames, putting everything over an excluder, and then we can come back on Thursday and take everything very quickly without any worry of having to look for a queen. You ready to go, John?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, we'll get some stuff out of this. So when we're making nukes, one of the things that's attractive about making nukes to me is to constantly cycle frames. That's why we don't have very many old real dark comb, because we sell so many nukes and colonies that we're always cycling things out. So when we're making a nuke, we try to go for the frames that look like they're the older ones, like this one. Now this is obviously not a real old dark comb, but that's the type of frame I want to sell. So when I look at this colony, the ones I want to leave are the ones that are obviously really new, and the ones that I want to put above an excluder are these older ones. It's not about selling somebody my junk, because that's not junk, it's just a few years old. But as long as we're selling the older ones, we keep replenishing things and we don't get any real old stuff. So that's a new frame. Obviously going to leave that behind. That's pretty good. That's full of eggs and larvae. Full of larvae and some sealed brood. So we've got 2 frames of brood already. Here's an older one that I'm probably going to want to take. Here's another new one that I'll probably want to leave. Yeah. So really, I've already got the frames I need to leave behind right here. Everything else going this direction can be put upstairs in another box. Okay, so when I'm shaking bees off, I do like to glance for the queen quickly. If I spot her, I can put her in the bottom box and I don't have to shake. Try to shake without banging the frames in the box. Be as gentle as possible. Some of the honey on some of these frames is from dead colonies this winter. We typically lose 5 or 10% of our colonies every winter, and if we get to them early enough, like in January or February, we'll end up with a bunch of these combs of honey. Excluder cross wires go down. That's my thinking. That's the way I think they should be. We could come back tomorrow or even later today. It's early in the day, and that box would be populated with bees. And sometimes we just put a double screen board in there and just introduce a queen like that as a double screen board split. In this case, these assets are going to go into nuke boxes. We're going to grow the nukes in the box they're going to be sold in. And again, they're being sold in 3 weeks from the day of introducing the queen. And when we take this, when we take all this stuff out for nuke boxes on Thursday, this top box will come back off. We'll put a 2-gallon bucket on the bottom colony, feed it for about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, and then come back and take the feeder bucket off and give them a second-story box of deep comb with no excluder that they can grow up into and create a double deep brood nest. And that's how we'll run them for the spring. And then depending on the honey crop, how it goes, if we make a lot of spring honey, I'll leave them with this second box. If the honey crop is a little bit shorter than average, we will actually shake the bees out of the top box, put excluder back in, and let the bees backfill this top box, and it'll become a honey super. You'll see something a lot like that in Ian Steppler's videos. He does exactly like that, and he does it for his whole outfit. We kind of stay flexible. Sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't. We kind of watch the honey flows. We don't have massive honey flows like he does. A good spring might give us 100 or 120 pounds, occasionally 150 pound average. There's always a few colonies that make more and some that make less, but our average might be 100 pounds. If it's a bad year, then we might get greedy and want to take that second box full of honey, you know, get the brood hatched out and let the bees backfill it during the sourwood flow. So that's all a future question, and we'll decide that later on. But for right now, we'll be back in 3 days and take all of the brood and stuff we put in this upper box and create nukes with it and move the nukes away to another yard. It'd go a lot faster if I didn't glance for the queen, but I just like to do it. Okay, that's all brood. Good stuff. Okay, so this was a yard of 48 colonies, and we did really good. There's only one over there that didn't give us any brood. Anybody counted the brood yet?
Not yet.
It's an average of probably 4 frames of brood above every excluder, so we got more than 1 nuke out of every colony. So on to the next yard. Oh, first we gotta feed Molly lunch, give her the full experience. Back to the scene of the crime, as they say. Back on Thursday to populate these nuke boxes with the material, the bees and brood that we put above the excluder last time we were here. We've got some unusual nuke boxes. We got some used plywood out of Wisconsin that is already dipped in paraffin and was being used in a cheese factory. So at the price of lumber and everything these days, we jumped on that real cheap deal and made some pretty good nuke boxes out of it. And this is what we're selling our nukes in this year, is these plywood nuke boxes instead of the plastic Jester boxes, which got quite expensive this year. You can build these plywood ones cheaper, labor and everything. Jesse's already getting started. Let's go see what he's doing.
Nice looking brood.
Nice looking brood. This is the beauty of this method. We're making a bunch of nukes very fast.
Can you see the larvae in there?
Yeah, it's got a lot of larvae in it. Some pollen. Good frame.
Yeah.
On Monday we set these things up with the queen downstairs underneath the excluder. Took all the bees off of these frames and then let the bees come up through the excluder and populate the frames again. And because we have so many nukes to make in one day, it makes it doable. If we had to find all the queens and go that route, I don't think we could finish the work today that we have to get done. Nice big frame of food. So if we remember correctly, we left 3 frames of brood behind, some more drawn comb and food, 2-gallon bucket on top of that. In 2 weeks, they'll be right on time, ready for that 2nd story box. That one doesn't have quite as much in it, huh?
No. But it's got a couple of shakes and I think 2 broods in it. Here's a parcel. Good food.
Good food. Yeah, we call them foodie broodies. A little bit of food, a little bit of brood.
Another foodie broody.
Yeah. So sometimes the brood we're using in these things, we measure the brood by the equivalent of 2.5 or 3 frames. Sometimes it takes, 4 frames to get the amount of brood you want. That's a very nice frame of brood.
Yeah, they're chewing out.
Yeah, that's really going to populate that thing quick. And here's Angela. Angela came to help us today.
Hi.
She's, we've already got her talked into stripping her gloves off, or maybe she did it on her own. I don't know.
Yeah, I figured I would give it a try.
Why not? Have you got stung yet?
About 3 times.
3
keep
times?
Trying, it'll happen.
Yeah, Jessie says keep trying. So she's got this figured out already. Again, John.
We've got a lot of pollen here. Like I'm seeing pollen on more of the bees than I'm not seeing it on.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
Pollen. I mean, most of those bees already have pollen.
Nice day for working bees. 62 degrees Fahrenheit. Pollen coming in, so they're busy. No robbing. Doesn't get much better than this, John.
I know. No, this really is perfect. This is as good as it gets.
Should show what some of these nuke boxes look like actually. We screened the entrance with 1/8 inch hardware cloth. And we also put holes in the bottom with 1/8 inch hardware cloth to provide extra ventilation for travel. And then when we sell them in a couple weeks and they'll be really full of bees, we'll actually take these caps out and put screen there too. So when people put them on their trucks or in their car to travel home, they'll be very well ventilated. One of the worst problems we've seen with people buying nukes is they don't understand how quickly they can overheat. It can be a real problem. I've seen customers kill 20, 30 nukes inside a pickup truck with a camper shell and then call me and want me to fix it after I explained to them that they were probably making a mistake. So, gotta be careful when you're buying nukes. Make sure they stay cool.
Hey, if y'all need a food, I got one over here.
Okay, I'm good right now.
All right.
This truckload of nuke boxes will go on to another yard and get dropped off, and then we'll continue on to the next spot. Okay, so because we're putting the queens in the same day, we're introducing them the same day we made the nukes, and even though they've been queenless for several hours, I want to make sure that they don't get the queens out of the cage too early, and there's a little trick we use for that. So
These with black or the John Knox.
okay, I'm not even going to worry about it. So we get the cheapest masking tape we can buy.
Not the blue.
Yeah, don't buy the blue masking tape because the bees don't chew through it as quickly. Completely cover up the candy and then take that frame nail and poke a hole in it. You have to have the hole, excuse me. I have had bees not realize that there's candy on the other side of this tape and they don't chew through it at all. But with the hole, they know the candy's there, and first they have to chew through the masking tape before they get to the candy. I'm not sure just exactly how much time it buys you, but it's enough. Probably buys you another day or something. This candy that we got here is just a little bit soft. You really got to pay attention to how hard candy. If it was really hard candy, I wouldn't worry about it. But this candy is fairly soft. I mean, you can push your fingernail in there very easily, and so I think it's another reason to make sure they can't get it too fast. They're all marked. Should be marked with yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah, looks good. Seth just told me he's going to make his nukes over a double screen board this spring, which we do a lot of, and it actually works better. You know, you get better acceptance because you lose the field force leaving them in the same yard. Here we actually screened them up and brought all the bees that we put in the box, so it's another reason to be extra careful with queen acceptance. Plus they're pretty stout nukes. The smaller they are, the better acceptance you get, and these were made up pretty stout. We're going to feed them with jars, give everybody a 5-pound honey jar of syrup at the same time, so the bees become gorged. They'll do a lot better job at accepting the queen if they're being fed in a fashion that is not causing robbing. So when we put the jars on these things, we need to be careful not to dribble sugar syrup all over the place. If we start a robbing frenzy, our acceptance will go down the toilet. Okay, John, just we know that there's brood on the center frame for sure, so either side of the center frame is fine. Just kind of rub the bees out and do your thing there, put it back together. Always have the tube facing sideways or slightly down so that that candy can't run back into the cage if it gets real soft and drops out of the tube. Be careful not to put bees, don't squish bees behind the cage, because I have a theory that, you know, squished bee guts around the queen cage probably doesn't help acceptance too good.
Yeah, I understand that.
This job's about done. Move on to the next yard. Okay, so today's March 24th. We're doing quite a few more nukes this week than we did last week. There's no way we could have harvested them all in one day. It poured rain yesterday. We couldn't get in here yesterday, so we're going to use the double screen board method in this yard and several others today. That way we can get through them very fast and hopefully get everything done today that we need to get done. It's pretty simple. All we're going to do is lift the box up, take the excluder out, put a double screen board in, put the queen in, a bucket of food on top, and then move to the next one. We should be able to go through this yard fairly quickly. So we're using 1 gallon buckets on top of these nukes. We usually use 2 gallons on most colonies, but the nukes just get a 1 gallon. We're using 1-to-1 sugar syrup. That's our choice for building up nukes. It's a little cold this morning, but it's doable. Also, completely different subject. I'm often asked if high voltage lines affect bees. I've never experienced any trouble. I've got a couple of yards that are like this that are right next to some high voltage lines. Mating goes well. I never see any issue with virgins or anything like that. So I don't know, there may be something, but I've never experienced it. The candy's a little harder this time, so we're not going to worry about the masking tape trick. Plus, when we pull these excluders out and put the double screen board in, they're going to create an extra entrance and the old field force will go home. It's going to warm up today, so all the older bees that are in that upper box are going to go home, and the upper colony will be left with just young bees. They'll accept a new queen much more readily than a nuke that has the field force with it also. So no masking tape today. These will be some pretty good nukes, John. They got a lot of bees in them.
A lot of bees. Yep.
Every one of them's got 3 frames of brood at least. A few of them have 4. We can sort that out later when we harvest the nukes. We'll be back in 3 weeks. The bees are not stingy at all, are they?
Not too bad.
Have you been stung yet?
1 or 2.
1 or 2? Yeah. It's a cold morning.
Warming up quick.
Warming up quick though. Yeah, the bees will fly good here in an hour or so.